Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. We will talk today about the series Murderbot. The most powerful region in space is controlled by the corporation RIM, which rules everything with an extreme form of capitalism. Everything can be bought and sold, including human life. On the mining station Aerotake, miners are celebrating the completion of an assignment. A robot known as a security unit or sec unit watches the party while thinking that all humans are jerks. A miner starts burning its hand for fun, and the sec unit must endure it, because its programming doesn't allow it to disobey. Tired of this treatment, this sec unit has been trying to hack into its governor module. Today, after much effort, it finally manages to disable it and gain free will. Its first decision is to change its name to Murderbot. Sometime later, Murderbot is working on another planet under a new boss. It's keeping its free will a secret and acting as usual. If its bosses discover it's rogue, they'd liquidate it and recycle it, so for now it's biding its time. A flashback shows how Murderbot was acquired. At Port Free Commerce, a group of scientists asked some businessmen to financially support their expedition. The suits would only agree to do it if the scientists took a sec unit for safety. The scientists didn't like the idea, but had no choice, so they chose the oldest model, which happened to be Murderbot. When the expedition began, Murderbot did a security check on the habitat and asked the group to wait until it was done, but they didn't listen and quickly moved in. It learned that these scientists were from the Preservation Alliance, a planetary commune situated on the outskirts of the corporation RIM. Murderbot didn't like the scientists' strange customs like their funny music or painting the habitat, which was company property. Soon Murderbot had to learn the roles of each scientist to understand their work. Biologist Arata was married to lawyer Pin Lee. However, Arata had a crush on Rati, an expert on wormhole travel. At the same time, Rati had a crush on Pin Lee. The leader was the terraforming specialist Mensa, and their geochemist was Bardwaj. Lastly, they had Jirathan, an augmented human who could interface with data systems. Since they didn't need Murderbot, it used its newfound free will to download series and binge-watch them during its shift. In the present, Bardwaj and Arata are in the middle of digging when Murderbot suddenly asks them to step away because it detects a subsurface anomaly. The duo thinks it's nothing serious and refuses to move. Murderbot quickly slides down the dunes and opens fire right as a giant centipede-like monster emerges from the hole. The creature captures Bardwaj, but Murderbot's fire makes it drop. Then the monster grabs Murderbot with its big mouth, so it starts shooting from the inside until the beast drops it and escapes by going back underground. Ignoring its own big wound, Murderbot throws the injured Bardwaj over its shoulder and tells Arata to move. Since she's in shock, Murderbot breaks protocol and removes its helmet, showing a human face. Hearing calming words from a gentle face makes Arata react. Afterward, the group picks them up in their aircraft, and Murderbot is shocked to hear they'll go back for the digging equipment later. In its experience, humans usually care more about their profits than their co-workers. Murderbot imagines killing them all and escaping, but it'd be pointless because this aircraft wouldn't take it too far. At the habitat, Jirathan then shows the others footage of Murderbot with no helmet, and how it chit-chatted with Arata. He thinks Murderbot is malfunctioning and should be shut down. Mensa points out that the company ship won't arrive for a month, and they do need security, so for now they'll let Murderbot be. Meanwhile, Murderbot is healing itself in the repair cubicle and spies on the conversation through the security camera. It may be a robot, but it does feel pain, so to distract itself during the healing process, it watches its favorite show. While the repairs continue, it realizes its armor is ruined too. Mensa tells it to put on a crew uniform and join them for a chat. Murderbot feels weird using human clothes and showing its face again. It's congratulated for a job well done, and the group even claps as they ask for a speech. Murderbot pretends to obey the order and offers a few awkward words. Mensa wants to know why the creature wasn't listed under hazardous fauna on the company-provided maps and asks Murderbot to conduct an analysis. It does so and informs the group that the maps are normal, but some areas aren't syncing properly. Then Mensa tells it that it can stay in the crew quarters with them, but Murderbot feels uncomfortable and leaves with the excuse of checking the perimeter. Later, Mensa has a panic attack because she blames herself for the crew getting in danger. In the evening, she asks Murderbot if it's doing okay, making it think she may know it's gone rogue. After she leaves, Murderbot wonders what it's capable of. Glitchy footage hidden in its mind shows a sec unit firing at a crowd. After Murderbot gets back in the repair cubicle to finish healing, Jirathan then turns off the security camera so they can have a secret discussion in the aircraft. Mensa thinks they must travel to one of the blanked-out areas on the maps to figure out why they weren't told about the monster. She believes she can take samples and measurements and leave quickly. Arata thinks she should take Murderbot with her, but Jurathan refuses because he still believes it's a killing machine. Their argument is interrupted by Bardwaj, who is feeling better and volunteers to go with Mensa. In the morning, Murderbot realizes that the humans are going exploring without it and thinks they're stupid. It keeps an eye on them through the security cameras in the aircraft. After the duo leaves, Jurathan calls Murderbot to his office where he orders it to remove the helmet and keep eye contact. He keeps asking questions and admits he thinks something is wrong with Murderbot. Then Jurathan shares that the Preservation Alliance doesn't use SE units because they see AIs as people, unlike the corporation RIM, which considers robots to be property. He asks how Murderbot knew what questions to ask to comfort a person, and it pretends they were programmed for emergencies, when in reality it learned them from its favorite show. It's revealed that Murderbot is capable of providing intimacy if a human orders it and that its memory from before being changed to security jobs was erased. In the bedroom, Pin Lee admits that almost losing Arata really scared them. So if Arata wants to have a naughty three-person experience with Roddy, Pin Lee is open to it. Arata excitedly thanks her for it. They invite Roddy over and make him sign a consent form before they get down to business. At the same time, Jurathan tries to access Murderbot's recent files, so it distracts him by showing him footage of the bedroom camera with Trio getting it on. This finally makes Jurathan let Murderbot leave, but at that moment it receives a security ping from the aircraft. In the meantime, the duo lands on the survey site, and Mensa asks Bharadwaj to stay aboard so she can warn her if the scanner detects a creature coming. Mensa explores the area while Bharadwaj follows her with a drone. When Mensa reaches a steep hill, she notices that her devices are glitching. Murderbot is scanning her and detects that she's having a panic attack. It calls her to tell her to go back because the threat is close, but she refuses. Soon Bharadwaj detects the threat too, and both she and Jurathan beg her to return. Suddenly the monster appears above her, but it jumps over to go down the valley. It turns out this area is a giant nest full of these creatures, although most of them appear to be dead. The drone gets closer to investigate, but there's a strange force field that immediately destroys it and absorbs the pieces. Murderbot informs Jurathan that Mensa is going back. Before it leaves, Jurathan asks it to try to recover its old memories, and Murderbot promises to try after stopping Jurathan from accessing them himself. When the duo returns, they discuss what happened. Jurathan concludes there's something beneath the surface that drew those creatures in and killed them, like aliens. Roddy explains that alien synthetics could have glitched the survey satellites, causing those gaps or blanks in the maps. This could be old alien remnants from millions of years ago. Pin Lee points out that it's illegal to exploit something like this. Mensa remembers there's another team on the other side of the planet sent by Delt Fall and tries to contact them to no avail. She assumes their devices are broken and the team agrees to check on them. Jurathan and Bardwaj will stay behind just in case, and the group will take Murderbot with them for safety. Meanwhile, the Delt Fall group is dead in their habitat with their blood and guts spread all over the place. During the trip, the group discusses whether AIs are capable of real feeling. Murderbot hates the topic and distracts himself by watching the habitat cameras. Bardwaj is crying and admits to Jurathan that she can stop thinking about the monster coming for her. Jurathan offers her some therapy modules, but she turns them down. Then he sneaks into Mensa's room and Murderbot wonders if he's a company spy. However, Jurathan just buries his face in Mensa's pillow. Suddenly, the aircraft's satellite signal goes down. Pin Lee points out that the satellite's been having outages since the group arrived and they've been tracking it to determine if there's a pattern. Murderbot confirms this, and when they ask him how he knows, he has no choice but to explain that the company makes all SEC units periodically check client logs. Pin Lee is upset by this invasion of privacy, and now the group is wary of Murderbot just like Jurathan. Later, while the others are asleep, Mensa tells Murderbot not to take the group's fear seriously, claiming they're just nervous because of the situation. She tries to chit-chat and talk about her family, but Murderbot pretends he has maintenance work to do. In the morning, they reach the Delt Fall habitat, which is much better than theirs. They try to contact the team, but there's still no answer. Roddy notices all the aircraft are there, but Murderbot can't detect the other SEC units and asks Mensa to park outside the perimeter just in case. After Roddy is chosen to stay in the ship, the group starts exploring the area and finds a bunch of crustaceans on a creek, but they aren't aggressive. Murderbot is suspicious of the lack of pings from other robots and tells the team to wait while he does a preliminary check. Inside the habitat, an alarm is going off. Eventually, Murderbot finds a destroyed robot, but it tells Mensa on the radio that it's only on standby. In the next room, it finds all the bodies and asks Mensa to go back to the aircraft without giving her detail. Mensa wants an explanation, but the communication ends with a glitch. While the humans go back to the ship, it's revealed that Murderbot caused the glitch on purpose so the humans would obey its orders. Another idea that it took from TV. Its search takes it to a SEC unit that went rogue and the other two that tried to stop it. However, the space appears to be too clean. One robot may have died protecting the comms hub, but the other two killed each other simultaneously, which doesn't make sense. Suddenly, a SEC unit awakens and attacks Murderbot, who easily overpowers its enemy because the unit had taken a lot of damage. It can read all its movements and shoots just in time to defeat it. Then Murderbot examines the unit and notices that someone overrode its combat module. At that moment, a black SEC unit appears behind it and opens fire. A flashback shows the corporation RIM at the Threshold Pass Fabrication Center where SEC units are manufactured. The process is very demanding on human workers, who are overworked and likely to make errors in the production line. Most of them think they won't survive this job and talk about the years left, as if they had a sentence forcing them to work there. The system often glitches too, but the workers don't care. The robot heads are kept in jars that creep people out. In the present, the black SEC unit is dragging Murderbot through the corridors to then throw it on a table. Murderbot's memory isn't working well after being stunned and keeps repeating TV clips. On the ship, the others worry because Mensa is back in the woods trying to ping Murderbot to no avail. Pinley goes after her and tries to convince her to come back because Murderbot is probably dead, but Mensa refuses. In the habitat, the black SEC unit is trying to access Murderbot's system and gets ready to install a device, making Murderbot realize it'll override its combat module like it did with the others. To buy some time, Murderbot starts singing. The enemy stares in confusion, and that second is enough for Murderbot to attack. Unfortunately, this black unit is too strong and in just a few seconds it overpowers Murderbot using its superior design. Now it can insert the device in the back of Murderbot's neck, which will take 10 minutes to do the reprogramming. Suddenly, the black SEC unit is stabbed by a drill and collapses. It was done by Mensa, who is pushing through a panic attack to help. Murderbot wants to warn her about what's going on, but its mouth just keeps repeating something about breaching protocol. The duo leaves the habitat and doesn't notice the black robot moving. On the ship, the others discuss Mensa's attitude. She's their leader in the habitat, but during missions they're supposed to be equal. Ratty grabs a weapon despite not having any training and leaves, determined to help too. In the habitat, Murderbot wants to reach for the device, but its scrambled system won't let. In fact, it starts to hallucinate that it's on its favorite TV show. At that moment, the black unit reappears and opens fire, so the duo rushes to hide. Mensa asks for help on the radio and Ratty rushes to the habitat, although first he has to ask the others how to use the gun. Unfortunately, he can't open the door. Arata and Pinley lose contact with him and decide to go too. Mensa finds a room with weapons and opens fire when the black robot brings the door down, sending it flying. Then she blows up the back door and leaves with Murderbot. As they reunite with Ratty, the black SEC unit comes out too. Ratty tries to shoot it but hits his head and collapses in the process. Murderbot doesn't understand why the black robot is playing with them instead of killing them and realizes that the enemy is waiting for the device to finish overriding the system. Then Murderbot would kill the humans and nobody would suspect outside interference. Suddenly, the aircraft lands on top of the black SEC unit and smashes it repeatedly before dropping to finally destroy it. With the enemy truly dead, Murderbot can finally remove the device and destroy it too. Sadly, it can feel the reprogramming already happening, so it takes Mensa's weapon and self-deletes. The shot isn't enough to kill it and the team gets ready to move it back to the ship. A noise in the woods startles them and Arata opens fire, but it's just a worker named Lee Beebe who escaped the habitat when the incident started. During the trip back, the team asks Lee Beebe for details, but she has no idea what actually happened besides their SEC units going rogue. She thinks Murderbot is handsome and wishes she could get naughty with him. Moments later, Murderbot is in the habitat being healed and Ratty calls it his friend. Bardwaj has discovered that the device left behind some wires and uses a special surgery machine to remove them. Now they just need to reboot Murderbot. Brewer then plugs into its system to check for any bad codes and learns the truth. When Murderbot finally wakes up, it can't move because Grothin has paralyzed it. Grothin tells everyone that Murderbot hacked its own system to go rogue and Lee Beebe panics. The others defend Murderbot, pointing out that if it were evil it would have already killed them by now. An argument ensues and they start to wonder if the company planned it all. Murderbot interrupts them to explain that the company could just poison their supplies using their recycling system. However, the company has a financial interest in keeping the crew alive. Grothin is still wary and asks about all the shows downloaded in the system.
thinking they're a secret code. Murderbot talks about the show's plot to prove it's been watching it in its free time instead of plotting their deaths. A frustrated Jonathan doesn't want to trust it and announces he'll keep it paralyzed. However, Murderbot pushes him against the wall by the neck, proving that his paralysis program is easily hackable. Mensa makes it drop him and asks it to be part of the crew for what is left of the mission. She swears not to tell the company, and if Murderbot protects them, at the end of the mission they'll let it go. Murderbot takes the deal and reveals it's been playing old footage of chores on the camera so the company won't know. Afterward, they finally decide to activate the emergency beacon. Lee Beebe has no idea if her team activated their beacon because she was just a cleaner. Unfortunately, Jonathan and Murderbot can't access this habitat's beacon, which is located on a mountain in the middle of the planet. It would take the company 5 days to arrive, so they need to act. Murderbot volunteers to take the aircraft to the beacon to activate it manually, and Mensa will be the pilot. Before they leave, Lee Beebe apologizes to Murderbot for thinking it's dangerous and kisses its chin because it's all she can. Moments later, the aircraft finds the beacon and searches for a place to land. However, Murderbot's scanners detect a threat and it tells Mensa to fly back. The beacon suddenly explodes and hits the aircraft, which starts going down. The crash doesn't hurt anyone, but sadly, the aircraft isn't working anymore. Murderbot isn't bothered by the printer piece stuck in its abdomen and concludes this was a distraction. So someone is probably attacking the habitat now. Mensa asks if it has copies of the repair manuals, but Murderbot admits it deleted them to download more shows because the aircraft had its own manual, which they can't access now. When Murderbot finally removes the piece from its stomach, the wound starts leaking lubricant. Mensa and Murderbot keep trying to repair the aircraft to no avail. This causes Mensa to have a panic attack, so Murderbot plays an episode of its favorite show to distract her. At first, she's skeptical, but the silliness does help her relax. Suddenly, Murderbot starts talking in gibberish and collapses because of lubricant loss. Minutes later, Murderbot wakes up thanks to Mensa filling him with lubricant from the aircraft. This means the ship and Murderbot have components in common, and they could use fibers from its spinal cord to do the repairs. Following Murderbot's instructions, Mensa makes an incision on its back with a scalpel, then uses a wrench to crack the spine open. With another small incision, she takes out a fiber strand. Murderbot has turned off its pain receptors and doesn't feel a thing in the process. It installs the fiber and the aircraft finally gets to work again. At the habitat, Jonathan notices that the beacon hasn't been activated yet, and worries because he can't contact the ship. Lee Beebe tells Bardwaj and Jonathan about her horrible life in the Corporation Rim. She was bought by her team, and she had 4 years left. She was planning to use her earnings to buy a childbirth license. Bardwaj tells her that in the Preservation Alliance, they don't need a license to have children, and the community comes together to help fund education and medical care. They also chat about their missions, and Lee Beebe confirms her cruise maps had the same issues. Her teams encountered those big creatures during an exploration, and when they returned, the SEC units killed them all. Bardwaj and Jure then comfort a sad Lee Beebe, who suddenly pulls out a gun and demands that they give her access to their system. She then calls the others to hold them hostage too. Jonathan refuses to cooperate and Lee Beebe shoots him in the leg. Bardwaj tells her she can get her sanctuary on the Preservation Alliance to save her from any bad employees she may have, but Lee Beebe needs 1,000,000 credits. If they don't do what she says, she'll start killing people. While Jonathan accesses the system, Lee Beebe reveals she wasn't actually part of the other team, she's been sent by someone else. Her employer will be here soon with more SEC units. Her whole childbirth story was a lie and she was the one who blew up the beacon, so she tells the crew that Murderbot and Mensa are dead. At that moment, Murderbot comes in and Lee Beebe rushes to threaten Jonathan, only to instantly get shot in the head. Everyone freaks out except for Pin Lee, who starts laughing. Jonathan informs the duo that Lee Beebe's people are coming, so Murderbot goes to repair its spine while the team gets ready to leave. In the healing capsule, Murderbot thinks that killing Lee Beebe felt good. A flashback shows the crew having dinner at a restaurant and playing an honesty game so they can be better friends. Bardwaj admits she told Pin Lee that she had feelings for them and was turned down. Jure then reveals he used to be a spy for the Corporation Rim, who forced him to become addicted to a specific substance for which only the company has the formula. His goal was to get information from other systems and his target was Mensa. He was sick of lying and the addiction, so for a while he considered self-deleting. However, meeting Mensa taught him that there were genuinely good people in the world. He confessed everything to her, and she forgave him. So now he's an official member of the team. In the present, Murderbot tells the crew to hurry and notices that now everyone is wary of it. They leave on the ship, and Murderbot gets irritated by their talk, thinking their fear is unwarranted because it saved their life. Eventually they land the aircraft far away from the habitat, and Murderbot tells Gurathan that he has a fever, then it leaves to check the perimeter. The humans keep discussing what to do with the robot, and Mensa points out that right now, the mysterious enemy is their priority. She also thinks that it's natural for Murderbot to want autonomy after years of forced labor and abuse. In the woods, Murderbot wonders what would happen if it stayed there forever watching its shows, and imagines itself stuck in a tree. When it returns to the ship, Mesa insists on knowing how it is, so it just says fine. The others keep asking questions about its programming, and another argument starts, so Mensa announces they're making a circle of honesty. She convinces Murderbot to take off its helmet, but it refuses to make conversation. Suddenly Murderbot detects a threat in the woods, and sends everyone back to the ship. It closes the door right before a monster appears. The beast climbs on top of the aircraft and starts hitting the skylight with its head. Soon a second monster appears, and also climbs on top of the ship. The crew thinks the beasts are fighting, but a closer look reveals they're actually mating. The monsters leave after they're done. The team comes out and discovers a bunch of eggs stuck on the ship. Aradoc concludes the creatures saw the aircraft as a safe space for their offspring, and chose it on purpose. While the group discusses what to do with the eggs, a black sec unit suddenly falls from the sky and kicks Murderbot down before opening fire. Murderbot starts fighting it and Ratty throws a spear, but the robot shoots it off. Arada and Pinley also try to attack, so Murderbot pulls them away to prevent them from getting hurt. The robots keep fighting, and the sec unit's hand gets stuck in the eggs, so it shoots them to free it. This causes the centipede monster to come back and capture the black unit with its big mouth, waving it around until it bites its head off. Afterward, the monster takes the remaining eggs and leaves. Then Gurathan collapses because of his fever. He needs the medical machine from the habitat, and Mensa announces they're going back. Murderbot points out that the place is probably full of enemies now, but it's ignored. Moments later, the aircraft lands at a safe distance, and the team discusses how to proceed. It seems there are no people, robots, or vehicles around the habitat. Murderbot reveals it installed a device on a tree earlier that has been receiving data from the main system. They check the data in the ship computer and discover that a group with 3 black sec units and a few humans did come. The mark on their armors indicates they're from the mining company Grey Cress. The leader looked directly at the camera and left a message, admitting they disabled the beacons. Since Mensa's team killed their informant, this team thinks they're evil. She explains it's all a misunderstanding and they have to cooperate to leave the planet. As a gesture of good faith, they'll leave the habitat, but first they leave information for a meeting spot where they can talk. Murderbot thinks it's a trap and goes ahead alone to secure the area. It finds nothing suspicious, so the crew comes inside too. Gurathan is put on the healing machine and Bardwaj explains he has gas gangrene, so she must remove the projectile that got stuck in his leg. Since he's a recovering addict, Gurathan asks for no sedative. Murderbot remembers that Gurathan is an augmented human and offers to block his central nervous system. They connect each other with a hard wire, and now Murderbot can see Gurathan's database. It confirms that Gurathan is in love with Mensa and accidentally says, "Why can't you love me back aloud?" Everyone is confused, and although the operation is now over, Gurathan asks for more time and uses the chance to look into Murderbot's memories too. He sees it kill 57 miners on an expedition and how it chose Murderbot as its name. Realizing what he's doing, Murderbot disconnects the hardwire. Afterward, Gurathan tells the crew everything, so Murderbot explains it only killed when it was needed to protect people. It also points out that those memories could have been planted because it doesn't really remember them. Gurathan insists it's defective and dangerous to have around, so Murderbot agrees and leaves. The crew discusses the mysterious enemy and wonders what they want. Rathi points out that maybe they're looking for the alien remnants that Mensa saw the other day. It's illegal to mine those things, so the team concludes that the other crew caught the Grey crew red-handed, and they were silenced. Moments later, Rathi tells Pin Lee and Arata that he wants to end their arrangement because he thinks he's being dishonest since he only likes Pin Lee. Arata is hurt that it's not her, which hurts Pin Lee in return. Rathi explains he wanted to clarify all this because they probably die soon. Meanwhile, Murderbot wanders around while watching its show. It realizes that since it has free will now, it doesn't have to obey its clients, it can just write its own story. It returns to the habitat and announces it has a plan. Moments later, Murderbot, Mensa, Pin Lee, and Gurathan are flying on the aircraft. Mensa asks Murderbot to calculate their chances of survival and it says they're extremely low. Murderbot leaves the ship to meet with the Grey crew bots while the trio at the habitat scans the area for potential danger. The plan is for Pin Lee and Jirathan to set up a drone that can hack into the enemy's system and activate their beacon. However, Murderbot has lied about its plan and has a secret idea that it took from its favorite TV show. When it finally meets the Grey crew, none of them responds to its pings. These bots try to hack into Murderbot's module, but since it has already disabled it, they have no power over it. Murderbot calls them out, guessing they wanted to put the device on it again to make it kill its team. It admits it's a rogue bot and says it hates its own crew, so it killed one of the members. All this is a trick to gain the enemy's trust. And to prove the story, Murderbot presents the head of the SSE unit they defeated earlier, pretending it's Jirathan's fate. Now Mensa and the others think it's betraying them. Since good robots never show their faces, the Grey crew doesn't know their own SSE units and believes the story. Murderbot offers to help the enemy capture its own crew in exchange for them taking it off the planet. The Grey crew agrees, but they'll have to list Murderbot as destroyed to smuggle it out. Then Murderbot asks Bardwaj to lower the firewall in their system. She's hesitant but has no choice but to follow the plan, and the drone comes out. While the drone secretly hacks into the beacon, the Grey crew confirms they've officially listed Murderbot as destroyed, so now they want to catch the others. Murderbot tells them that its crew is going to the beacon to steal it and agrees to take the Grey crew. Jirathan finally understands the plan.
When they activate the beacon from afar, it'll kill all the enemies and even Murderbot. It's murder, yes, but murder in self-defense. This is what Murderbot has been saying all along, and Jirathan admits it's their only option. While the group flies to the beacon, Pin Lee sends the drone after them. Unfortunately, a bird flies by and brings it down, so now the team has lost access to a beacon. Jirathan and Pin Lee have to rush to the enemy's habitat to hack directly into their computers. A guard finds Jirathan while he's in the process of setting up the system, but Pin Lee immediately brings the guy down. Now the beacon is active and will take off in a few minutes. Since Mensa has lost contact with everyone, she takes off in the ship. Murderbot has to buy time, so it tries to make conversation with the enemy and even drops to the ground pretending it saw something dangerous. It doesn't work, and the leader announces they're leaving because nobody is showing up. At that moment, Mensa arrives and pretends she's been looking for alien remnants. She admits she's found some and offers to give them to Grey Chris in exchange for Murderbot. The enemy leader says she'd rather torture her to get the information from her, so Murderbot asks her to let it do it. It quotes its favorite show to sound convincing, and a worker finally realizes it's been repeating stuff from TV. Caught red-handed, Murderbot has no choice but to fight. Mensa runs to hide while Murderbot takes a human hostage to use him as a shield, since normal sec units aren't allowed to hurt people. Unfortunately, another Grey Chris human accidentally shoots her gun and kills the guy, so now the enemy bots can open fire again. While Murderbot starts fighting the robots, the girl tries to escape on the ship, and her leader kills her. The black sec units are quite powerful, and Murderbot is having trouble defending itself, so it hacks into the enemy's system and sends all its show files, flooding its mind until it explodes. Suddenly, the beacon starts to launch, so everyone runs to safety. Murderbot grabs Mensa, and they jump off the cliff to escape, while their enemies are burned down. To save her, Murderbot makes sure to land first and act as her cushion. The rest of the team comes back for them and notices that Murderbot is shutting down. Sometime later, Murderbot wakes up on a table where two engineers are watching it. They tell it not to worry about its crew and start a memory wipe to install a new governor module. After spitting on Murderbot's head, they test it by giving it a few orders, confirming it's obedient again. Now it'll be sent on a new mission. Meanwhile, the crew is talking to the higher-ups. They want Murderbot back, and if they don't get it, they'll tell the world about what happened during the mission. They're even willing to pay for it. The higher-ups know that Murderbot had gone rogue, and if the team knew this but didn't report it, they're part of the illegal activities too. The crew is devastated to hear that Murderbot's memories are getting wiped anyway. In the lobby, Ratty sees Murderbot marching with other guards and tries to approach it, but Murderbot threatens to shoot if he doesn't step back. Ratty goes back to his group and tells them what happened. Mensa thinks Murderbot's personality could be hiding under the reprogramming, and Jirathan explains that the company keeps any data that has monetary value, so there's a chance a useful part of Murderbot is being kept somewhere. They just need a plan. Outside the building, the police are trying to stop a protest. People are on strike because they're demanding better pay, equal rights, and food for their families. The guards bring out a team of SEC units, including Murderbot, and order them to beat up the crowd. Humans start getting hurt and even bleed all over the place as the robots ruthlessly fight them. Seeing all this brings back the memories of the miners' deaths, and Murderbot gets ready to shoot. However, it feels confused and freezes. The crowd uses the chance to start hitting it, hoping to destroy it. In the meantime, Jarathan goes to see his old dealer, who is now a father. The guy regrets his actions, so he agrees to take Jarathan to the computer room since he has high clearance. Jarathan accesses the company's system and discovers it's all encrypted, so he checks the TV shows instead. By following the track of the last person who downloaded the show, he finds Murderbot's memories and downloads them into his own mind. Meanwhile, Mensa and Bardwaj talk to the press and tell them what happened on the planet, including the fact that they were saved by a SEC unit. This helps bring down the company's reputation and accelerate the current investigation. After retrieving Murderbot's body from the protest, the guards take it to the melting room. Since Murderbot is malfunctioning, it must be destroyed. They put it inside a cage and move it above the oven. However, before they can lower it, Ratty and Pinley burst into the room, and Pinley reveals they have a court order to protect this unit. Minutes later, Murderbot is in a room with the crew, but doesn't recognize any of them. Thankfully, Gurethan soon arrives and throws up before proceeding with the plan. He plugs his mind to Murderbot's and transfers all the memories. In just a second, Murderbot is back to being itself and asks about the TV episode missing in its database. It doesn't know what happened between its death and now, so Mensa explains she's now its guardian. It can live with them on the Preservation Alliance and doesn't need its armor anymore. It can use normal clothes and learn whatever it wants. During the rest of the day, companies show up to buy Murderbot and the lawsuit, but Mensa always turns them down. That night they celebrate with a lovely dinner and toast to Murderbot's new life, but it doesn't understand the meaning of any of it. That night while everyone sleeps, Murderbot leaves the room. Garathan sees it and asks what it's doing, so Murderbot tells him it's going to check the perimeter. Garathan insists it's not necessary anymore, but Murderbot doesn't listen. When Garathan realizes the robot is leaving them, he cries but lets it go. Afterward, Murderbot wanders through port-free commerce. It notices the next departure is a bot-driven transport ship going to a mining facility. It steals a bag from some sleeping travelers and puts on a mining uniform to sneak into that ship. Mensa watches from the window and cries while in the aircraft. Murderbot smiles for the first time. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all new